My name's Matthew Esau. I'm a professional learning strategist here at SAIT, and it's my job to help students learn the best that they can. I spend a lot of my time working with students who struggle, maybe have some barriers to learning. And so over the years, I figured out a bunch of tips and tricks that can help you learn more effectively. So let's get started. I'll share my screen, and here we go. So today's session is on AI skills, specifically using artificial intelligence tools, generative AI specifically, for studying and getting the most that we can out of our courses. Just to note, all of the images in this presentation, except for the next slide, were created with AI, and I created them when I originally created uh, this seminar a couple of years ago, right when ChatGPT was first kind of getting started, and you started to see it a lot in the news, and it became apparent that we were going to start using it a lot. So I started figuring out how students could use tools like ChatGPT to study while also not running afoul of the community conduct board. And so, yeah, that's something to check out. So these are early days kind of pictures. So you might see some wonky hands and things like that, but it's really interesting to see how far we've come now. Okay, so uh, I'm going to structure today's seminar around these 5 questions. The first couple are an introduction to generative AI. If you have been using ChatGPT or one of these other tools for the last couple of years, and you're really comfortable with them, you're going to find less of use in there. So you can skip ahead to the third, fourth, and fifth questions where we get a little bit more into some more advanced kind of techniques. Um, but the first question we're going to ask is, what is generative AI? What's it all about? And how can we use it? How does it work? Um, how can you generate a good prompt? Things like that. Uh, we're then going to move into specific skills for studying, and this will comprise the bulk of the seminar. Um, we're going to look at some challenges to using AI for studying, and we're going to look at how we can protect ourselves from some of the downsides of current kind of AI models. So, what is generative AI? How is it different than other kinds of AI? And where are we at in its development? The term artificial intelligence, AI, refers to a bunch of different computer techniques that are intended to make machines do things that we normally associate with intelligence, and specifically sort of human level intelligence. Things like reasoning, things like problem solving, things like learning new things rather than just following programmed rules as computer software has been since it first sort of came out. It's always just running on rules. It's not really thinking or adapting or learning. These are things that AI has been able to help machines start to do, make decisions, things like this. Uh, when I refer to AI for the purposes of this seminar, I mean generative AI. So what does that mean, generative AI? There's actually a lot of different terms for artificial intelligence and different varieties. Generative AI is a specific kind of AI. Uh, what it does that is not the same as other types or more traditional software is it creates new content, content that has not existed previously. And it does this by looking at patterns that it's learned from examining really, really big data sets. So some of them are trained on the internet or Reddit or something like that. Just massive sets of data where it can kind of analyze it mathematically and find patterns that it can follow. As I mentioned, traditional software, you program in rules that it follows. So you can certainly program uh, set of software to do things like create images, but it's doing that by following the rules that you put in. It's not doing something new or um, outside of what its programmer was intending it to do. Whereas AI can do kind of surprising things and it can create new things that have not existed previously. Though it does this by looking at stuff that humans have created. So it's not entirely creating new things out of whole cloth. It's basically looking at stuff that humans have created and trying to imitate the important parts of it. So it generates things like text, images, multimedia like videos and things. You might see these, especially in ads now. You'll see Justin Trudeau hawking, investment packages or drop shipping instructions and things like that. These are all AI generated. It can even generate its own computer code. I've used it to create macros in Excel that worked really well. Um, not perfect, but really progressing and coming along. So, what kinds of generative AI tools are out there? There's a whole bunch of stuff. Um, it's a little less wild, wild west as it was in the first year, a couple years ago. But there's still lots of options uh, that are have pros and cons, let's say. So some examples are software that will record lectures, pull out key points. A lot of online meeting software does this now. Glean's one example. Grammarly uses AI to help with spell check and grammar improvements, things like that. Um, there are lots of productivity type AI apps like Goblin AI. Even Google and some of the big companies are starting to come out with these. There's the classic ones like ChatGPT, that's just a big AI powered large language model. Things like Copilot, stuff like that. One note on these is since we still are in the early days, there's a lot of companies jockeying for position, and they're not all the most scrupulous. They don't always do things that are totally honest and upfront. An example of this is when I was going through this list before doing the presentation to get ready. I noticed a lot of these, or some of them, I should say, are uh, uh, being sued in court for things like sharing private information or recording when it was not supposed to. Otter AI specifically, which is a program that converts text into visuals. Um, is being sued right now for recording private meeting information when it wasn't supposed to, things like that. So before you start a new AI tool or you put any money down, I would really recommend putting the name of the tool into Google and along with the word reviews and check out some of the reviews, see if they're in the news for bad behavior before you plunk down your money. Uh, yeah. So a little caution is very important. Buyer beware. But there's lots of information out there to tell you what the good ones are and what the bad ones are, and what the risks are. They all have pros and cons, which we'll talk about a little bit. So some caveats, as I've sort of mentioned already, with so many of these new programs available, and with more coming out every day, you can find them all over the place in your app stores for your devices. It's super exciting, and there's lots of promising things on the horizon. But keep in mind, we're still in the early stages. Um, these are not tools that have been around for 50 years and have been had all the bugs worked out. Um, we really still are seeing this happen in real time. Um, it still does things like make up information. The technical term is hallucinations. So when you ask it a question, it might make up stuff that doesn't actually exist and hallucinate an answer for you. This is getting better, certainly better than it was a couple of years ago, but still something to pay attention to. You'll see um, a little warning on almost all these tools that says that AI can get it wrong sometimes. Make sure you're checking the information. Uh, there are a lot of copyright concerns because it's using a lot of copyrighted information to train its models in all the companies, not just one. And so there's definitely copyright concerns. Anything you put into it, it's using for training purposes. So you have to be careful about putting in private information. So it's just lots of copyright concerns right now. And then on the flip side, plagiarism as well. So people using AI generated things without crediting them properly and trying to steal credit. Lots are trying to monetize. So just remember that all of these companies are trying to separate you from your hard-earned money, and so make sure that you're careful when you go to start pay for a service or a subscription or something like that. And the results are still kind of inconsistent, getting better, improving, but lots of inconsistency. And so you have to know when you can count on it and when you can't. The ones that I use the most and recommend the most for studying are some of these more general kind of AI chatbots, like ChatGPT or Copilot. Lots of options. There's other ones as well, like Claude AI and several others. They all have pros and cons. Some charge you for an account, some charge you for advanced features. Some require an account, some don't. Some aren't available in Canada, though this is starting to change quite a bit. I think most of the ones that were unavailable in the past are now available without a VPN. But there might still be a few that you can only get in certain geographic areas. Some will save past chats, some will use the information, as I mentioned, to train itself and provide that information to others. There's a famous case where a company dumped all of its records in to do some analysis, and other users elsewhere reported getting some of that private information um, as part of their chats that they were using with the chatbots. These are constantly evolving. I'm sure every single thing I'm saying in here is obsolete and different now to some degree, but I'm trying to stick with the main features that aren't going to change. So you can rest assured that there's lots of useful information in here. So how do you use generative AI? Um, Generative AI is quite simple to use, very low barrier, but there are definitely some things you can do to make it more effective. And before I go into these, I'm just going to show you real quick for those of you who are new to AI what this looks like. So this is ChatGPT. This is just the free version of ChatGPT. I also have um, I also have Copilot open here, and Copilot is one of the we have the EDU account here at SAIT. So this is a paid model. So they work a little different, but they'll both do all of the things that we're going to be talking about today. So for an example, let's just look at kind of what a prompt is. A prompt is basically just asking these programs to do something. For example, let's try something really simple. Tell me about how a car's engine works. Just a random example, and it'll provide you with a bunch of information. Um, uh, It'll also sometimes prompt you with, would you like me to do this or that? And oftentimes these ideas are really actually quite good. Things I didn't think of myself, and I'll be like, yes, I actually do want you to do that. So that's all. When we're talking about prompts and using AI, that's all we're talking about is we're just typing in a very conversational way what we want it to do. It could be, you know, um, anything really. So I will share my presentation again. We'll do a little bit more demonstration with that as we go. So some tips on using AI chatbots when you're putting your prompt in, again, which is the description or the instructions that you want the chatbot to do. How you ask really matters. The way you craft the prompt is really crucial. So be as clear as possible. Um, it can handle simple language or complex language, but just be careful with your wording. Practice, play around with it, figure out what works best and what gets you the results you want. Uh, a feature, not a bug, is that you are adjusting constantly with the prompts. So anything it's giving you back, you can ask it to adjust. I very routinely ask it to make something 10% simpler or 5% more clear for a certain audience or something like that. It's really good at taking perspectives. So you can ask it to act like an expert in some field or a certain role in particular. So make sure that you're including that in your prompts. You're getting it to take certain perspectives and act as certain in certain roles. And there's been a lot of talk recently about how much energy is being wasted by people saying thank you to their chatbots. So don't say thank you, um, uh, and you'll help save a bunch of electricity. So there's lots of different ways to prompt chatbots. You can really do it in a tailored way, but some good rules of thumb for how to create a prompt look something like this. So the first four are what I try to put in into every prompt when I first prompt it to do something, especially when you're starting a new chat. Um, these chatbots will typically look at all of the other things you've said in the chat and take that into account when it's answering. So sometimes it's helpful to start a new chat if you want to kind of switch to a different subject. But things you want to include would be the role that you want it to take, to get it to take a certain perspective. You want it to give it the request. So exactly what you want it to do. Be specific. You can include all sorts of other further context. So you can say, make it really clear, make it for a high school audience. Um, Provide me the information in a way that doesn't have a lot of technical jargon. You can add all sorts of extra context. And then tell it what format you want the response in, if this is going to matter. So ask for a list or a report or a table or a certain file. All of these work. And then the final point to make is don't settle for a mediocre response. Keep iterating, keep telling it new things, keep adjusting it until you're getting exactly what you want out of it. It doesn't take very long for you to kind of figure out its little quirks, and then you can start to get really good results really quickly this way. So, as an example, um, let's go through an effective chat. So, let's say I'm just learning tennis for the first time and I'm really struggling with my backhand stroke. Um, and so I'm going to go to ChatGPT or whichever tool that you're going to use. And I'm going to tell it first to act as a tennis coach or a tennis pro. I'm going to make my request. Give me tips on the perfect backhand or help guide me in training my backhand or something like that. Provide it further context, like talk to me like I'm an 8-year-old, or I'm really familiar with tennis, so you can use as much jargon as you want, whatever you'd like. And then the output, I'd like a list. Give me um, numbered instructions step by step, or however you'd like to do it. So that's kind of the idea. And then if you're not really getting what you want back, you can even ask AI itself, I'm not really getting what I want. I want something more like this. How can I word my prompt differently that'll do that? And it can guide you on how to prompt it even. Okay. So we've looked at generally how to use AI. Let's take a look at how to use it specifically for studying. Some of the things that we can do to help us learn, and some things to watch out for as well. So one of the big things with AI is it's the ultimate personalized uh, instructor for you. So you can use prompts to very carefully personalize how it's teaching you in terms of format, in terms of length, in terms of all sorts of things. I like to ask it to critique all of the ideas it just gave me because I personally learn best when I'm hearing both sides of the issue. And so I often will ask it to tell me what's wrong with what it's just said. And it does a pretty good job of critiquing itself, actually. It has superhuman patience and time, 24/7, on Christmas Day, on, any day of the week, you can ask it and it will come with information with the same energy as it did any other time of the week. So that's very helpful. You can ask it to act like a different subject expert, maybe someone that you don't have access to, um, which can be very helpful. You can also get tips on how to study better. Instead of asking it to teach you something specifically, you could ask it to help you adjust your study strategy or how long you're studying or help to create a plan for your studying. Um, you can put all your due dates in and get it to create a calendar for you, all sorts of things like this. Just be careful. There are certainly times when it takes longer to get AI to make something perfect than it does to just do it yourself if it's something you already know how to do. Um, and don't be afraid to just get AI to do the rough thing and then you kind of take it the rest of the way. So if you ask it to create a calendar and you don't like how the calendar looks, take the calendar it's created and just plug it into a program that you do yourself, but have it do all the you know laying out of things and that sort of thing. Other uh, things it can do in terms of personalized learning would be things like I've mentioned, like create a study schedule, but also summarize readings, organize your notes. You can paste things in. Um, if you're struggling to remember a complicated topic, paste the text in, ask it to generate a picture. You can use these as memory aids for when you're studying. Um, you can ask it to test you. We're going to look at do a demonstration of this. Practice testing and recall practice is something it really excels at, and it can help you with your writing even and your assignments. We'll talk about how to do that safely shortly. Okay, so an example of what it can do in terms of creating a study plan. This is an example of a prompt that you can use. So I'm going to ask it to act as an expert in Excel and adult education. This is another benefit of these chatbots is it doesn't just need to be one thing. You can combine it. It can be an expert tennis coach who also knows how to, restring a tennis racket and create a spreadsheet of, for a tournament or something like that. It can do all the different things all together if you ask it to combine its knowledge. I'm asking it to create a study plan to help me learn Excel. I want it in an outline format, and I want it to include every single step I should know from beginner to advanced level. Okay, so let's plug this in and check it out, see what it produces. So let's use GPT for this. Just a note, I've directed my chat GPT to use some fun old-timey language, but yours will not do that right out of the box. You have to kind of prompt it to do that, but just so you know why it's doing that. Okay, so that's the prompt. I click send, and it's giving me uh, the study plan now. So just initial kind of thoughts. It's starting at absolute beginner who might not even know what Excel is, and then going into more complex things, all the way up to power queries, pivot tables, macros, really complicated stuff, some best practices. And then I've directed it to always give me a critique and a summary of everything it says. You don't have to do this. Okay, and so this looks pretty good. It's a little bit more than I would normally want for something like this, so I'm going to have it iterate. Um, I'm going to say I already uh, have used Excel a little, so not an absolute beginner, and maybe I won't need to do statistics because I noticed it said this that I'll do descriptive statistics in there. Um, I don't want uh, to code anything, so we can get rid of macros. Please recreate the plan, and it'll take our constraints into account, and it'll rebuild the study plan. Um, well, it's done some interesting things here. And so that's kind of how it works. You basically go back and forth with it until it looks the way you want it. And then from there, you can either go to Google and find resources on YouTube or things like that in threads on how to do each of these things. You can use LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning is free for students at SAIT. Lots of good stuff on Excel in there. Or you can continue on in here and ask it to direct you on how to do pivot tables or whatever. Uh, yes, so I will go back to our presentation. And just to help you see kind of how far it's progressed, this is an example from a couple of years ago when it was brand new. It was quite a bit simpler. Uh, it's not doing quite as much. It's not thinking quite as hard. It kind of just gives a general list of topics. So you can ask it just to do that as well. But it's fun to see kind of how far it's kind of come and how sophisticated it is now. Another thing it's really good at is summarizing content. So it can really quickly summarize big, long articles. Anything that you have digitally, you can paste it in. It often has access to a lot of these through the internet. So even if you don't have, if you just have a paper copy, you can ask it to summarize, a certain book or text, just give it the reference. This allows you to consume a wider variety of sources or to check out sources before you spend the time to read them. So if you're doing like a research project, for example, you can ask it for summaries of 10 different articles and then just pick the two or three that are best for your project. You can even ask it to help you brainstorm on which kind of topics to pick. As long as you're doing the actual work and you're making all the decisions, that's the most important thing. But it can really help to brainstorm and come up with ideas you might not have thought of otherwise. And you can ask it to generate questions to help guide your reading when you do read the text, or to help you study, or to help you do practice tests. One warning though, uh, if you use it for all your reading, you're probably going to be missing out on something. Your instructors assign reading to reinforce what they're teaching in class or to develop certain skills. So if you're, for example, a legal assistant student, perhaps the readings are actually designed to help you improve your ability to comprehend, a certain kind of briefing or something like that. And so if you just have AI summarize for you, when you get on the job, you're going to lack the skills that you paid a lot of money to get. So don't sell yourself short. Um, Overall, if you use summarizing too much and you never do any of the reading, it's going to cause you problems. I worked with a student last semester who came in, said that they do all the readings but they can never remember the information in the exam, and it's because they were having ChatGPT summarize everything for them, and so they really missed out when it came to the exam time, the ability to use the information effectively. Um, Another thing it can be really good at is reorganizing or recategorizing your notes. Um, You can paste your notes in and ask it to organize it in a different format, like flashcards, or study questions, or practice tests. Uh, there are programs out there that will convert handwritten notes into digital texts with certain programs. Um, and it can do things like create pictures for visual learners as memory aids. So let's look at a quick example of what this can kind of look like. Maybe let's use Copilot for this. I'm going to start a new chat. And since I don't have any class notes, let's pull some information off of Wikipedia. What's a good example? Let's do, how about microeconomics? I just had a student asking about this course. So microeconomics, it already would have a lot of information about microeconomics, but we're going to use this as an example of how it could summarize um, our notes. So we're pretending that these are our notes from class. Oh, it's getting a lot of stuff I don't want it to get. Let's see if we do. That might be fine. Let's try. So I'm going to prompt it. I'm going to paste my notes from my microeconomics class. I want you to organize them into flashcards that I can print. Okay, so I'm going to paste the notes in. So it's creating all the flashcards here. And it's asking me, do you want uh, do I want it to create a full set of flashcards? Do I want it to be print ready? Um, I'm just going to leave it as 5 just to make it a little bit quicker. But I'm going to say PDF. I still say please. I don't know why. So this can take a little bit longer, um, but after a minute or two, it'll be ready. There we go. Let's take a look. That's not a good structure though. So let's have it, let's say, uh, recreate with 3 flashcards per page, um, evenly distributed. Let's try that, see what happens. So when you're using AI, this is a lot of what it is asking it to do something, checking it out, reiterating, asking it to do it again, and keep going from there. So let's see how good of a job it did. All right, let's see. That looks a little better. So you could print these off, cut them up, and you have flashcards without having to do all the work. Oh, it looks like it cut some off actually. So you would reiterate, ask it to make sure all the words are on the page, or to put it into boxes, or something like that. So that's how it would work. Whereas if you try to do 20 flashcards by hand, it's probably taking longer than this. So that's one example. Let's go back to our presentation. Another thing it's really good at is doing practice tests. So helping us with recall practice. Um, it gives you instant feedback. You can do the practice tests in the program, so you don't need to go back and forth with paper, things like that. You can if you want to make it more like the test in class, but not necessary. You can paste in your notes, texts, modules, direct it to quiz you, and try adding the learning objectives from the course. I'll do a bit of a demonstration with that. You can ask it to do multiple choice, long answer, whatever you'd like. Just remember the components of a good prompt. So, one example of a prompt you could use is like this. So, I'm going to paste a bunch of information, ask me multiple choice questions one at a time about the information to help me study for a test. If I answer correctly, ask me the next question. If I get it wrong, let me know. Give me a chance to answer again. If I say I don't know, give me the answer. Ask me the question again at a random time later. So I will copy this. We can keep using the microeconomics as an example. Um, so I'll keep going in this chat. I'll say, great. Now I'll paste my prompt in. That. Um, and let's add in the learning objectives. Okay, so I have a few outlines. I'm sure I have the microeconomics outline. So this one. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So if you're unfamiliar with the learning objectives, every course at SATE has a course outline. Every course outline has learning outcomes or learning objectives. They might be called different things. I can take these. Let's go. There we go. Take all of these. I'm going to say below are the learning objectives for the course. Use these to help create the questions. Goes in, and now see how it does. All right, super quick. I'm not going to read the questions. I'm just going to put some random things in. We'll see what happens. Oh, lucked out. Got that one right. Let's try another one. Uh, it's asking me if I want it to ask me again now. I'm going to say random time. And it'll keep going like that. You can ask it to ask you true or false, short answer, long answer, whatever you would like. It's very, very helpful. And this way you can get a lot of studying in without having to create the materials. You're just doing the part that matters, which is training your brain to answer these questions, which is what you're going to be doing in the exam. Okay. Um, Another area that you can get help with is with writing. This is one area, though, where I would advise a lot of caution. Um, and I won't go too much into writing. We have a lot of folks here at SATE who can help you with this specifically. We have writing specialists. The librarians are really good at helping out with this. Our writing services office has all sorts of seminars on plagiarism and paraphrasing and things like that. So there's lots of resources out there. I'll put my email up at the end. You can shoot me an email if you need more information about that, but be very, very cautious when you're using AI for any sort of writing. We'll talk about this more as we go as well. So with that in mind, the cautions, there are definitely things you can do. You can use Grammarly for spell check and grammar. Just don't copy and paste directly what it says. That's plagiarism. You can ask AI to grade your work, or you can paste your work in and ask it to give you suggestions on how to improve. But you have to do the work yourself. A few common traps with this is inaccurate information. So if you're asking it to help you with writing, it might not get the information right. And if you submit it, you're going to get a bad grade. Uh, attributing sources. So it'll make up sources that don't exist. There was a recent case where a lawyer used an example of a case in court that actually wasn't real. He'd gotten it from ChatGPT and got caught and got into a lot of trouble. So be very careful with that. And it's difficult to detect what's AI and what's not AI. These are three common kind of problems. So other kind of cautions to take are it's easy to struggle to apply the skills if you've had AI do it for you the whole time. Um, if you never actually practice the skills you're going to need, you're not going to be able to do well in exams or in labs. It'll become apparent that you don't know what you're doing, things like that. AI is not available during the exams, so it's not going to be there to help you when you need it. So you have to be able to do it on your own without AI. Um, and you really need to learn how to review and practice your study skills independently of AI. But the biggest caution is the current policy at SATE is that generative AI can't be used for anything that you submit unless you have permission from your instructor. So don't use AI to produce anything that you need to hand in unless your instructor has told you to use AI or that you could. Otherwise, you could be guilty of academic misconduct, and this can cause you a lot of problems. So that's the biggest caution. But you can still use it to help you brainstorm and all sorts of stuff like that. Okay, so yeah, let's look at some more challenges that AI has and kind of how we can protect ourselves. Data privacy is a big issue. As I mentioned, anything you put in, it's going to suck up and put into its data set and use it for other answers to prompts that other people give and all sorts of stuff like that. It doesn't care about copyright, anything like that. And there's a million AI startups, most of which are, I'm sure, very, um, honest and moral. But with so many and with so much money at stake, there's going to be some bad actors in there, some who are incompetent or dishonest or otherwise dangerous, trying to steal your money. So be very careful with your the data that you're giving out into AI programs. Ways to protect yourself, read the policies or get AI to summarize them for you. They're super long and legally. AI can summarize that very nicely. Um, Review the settings regularly. They'll often change the settings, and so you need to review regularly to make sure that they're still the correct privacy settings. Check the permissions that you have enabled to see if you're giving more permission than you want, and choose trusted tools. Don't go to, page 50 in the app store and yeah, to be careful. Um, Another issue, I've mentioned this a few times, but AI gets it wrong sometimes, and it also makes stuff up sometimes. We talked about hallucinations. It can sound accurate, but there are a lot of cases where the information is false, flawed, fabricated, overly simplistic, um, trying to fit the echo chamber that you're in, trying to make you like it. Um, it's meant to serve, and so it can sometimes patronize us and not give us really honest answers. It's a lot like early Wikipedia in some ways. Um, if you're old enough to remember when Wikipedia came out, people said a lot of the same things about Wikipedia, and now it's become a very reliable tool. So I'd suspect that AI will be sort of similar as well. So what do we do about this? It's important to understand the limits of AI. It's important to fact check important information um, with your course materials. Like at least look at Wikipedia or some other website just to see if it agrees and says the same thing. Um, Ask your instructor, lots of different ways to do this. When you start using AI for the first time, it can be helpful to try to triangulate uh, or figure out how much you should trust AI. So spend some time with AI asking it about a topic you know really well already before you start asking it about topics you don't know very well. Um, So if you're really into cars or you good at playing a musical instrument, ask it about those subjects, and you'll quickly see how reliable it is. Um, Ask it for clarification, correct it when you disagree, all of these kinds of things. You'll start to see the cracks. Evaluate your sources. The library has a system to do this called radar, where you're looking at the relevance, authority, the date that it was created, the appearance, how it looks, and reasoning out, doing some critical thinking. Um, um, if you want more information about this, you can check out the library page on radar. Lots of good information there. Another caveat is AI detection software. So SATE's directed its instructors not to use AI detection software. It is very unreliable, and it leads to lots of situations where you might accuse a student of plagiarizing when they have not. Um, there are still going to be a couple instructors out there who think that it's a helpful thing to use this AI detection software, but all the research shows that they're really unreliable. As I mentioned, false positives and negatives, but also very low accuracy and easy to fool. Um, it'll also, if you write in an unconventional way, like a lot of English as an additional language students will be flagged as having used AI when they haven't, just because they write in a slightly different way than native language speakers. And it provides no evidence. It just gives you a percentage. It'll just spit out, oh, it's 78% likely that this is AI. But of course, that leaves, a 1 in 5 chance that it was not AI, even if it says there's an 80% chance. So be careful. Protect yourself. So when you're working on assignments, save your drafts, save your research files, save your original files. You can even save your search history to show that you've done the research yourself. Just be ready to defend your work, even though you likely will never have to. Okay, so that is our session. Um, we've looked at what generative AI is, basically how to get machines to do more human-like reasoning. We've looked at how to use AI, how to prompt it. We've talked about things you can use AI to study for, things like making practice tests or summarizing information. Um, and we've looked at some challenges and how to protect ourselves. Uh, uh, if you have any questions or you would like to make an appointment with a learning strategist, please do send me a message, matthew.esau@sate.ca, and I'll do my best to assist you. Um, But best of luck in all your studies. And yeah, hopefully you can try some of those skills out. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.